Welcome back. Now, Mzansi Bioscope at its best. That's what the case of convicted rapist and murderer Thabo Bester can be likened to. For those who don't know, Bester was jailed, arrested, but somehow faked his death and managed to escape. He's allegedly been seen on the streets of Johannesburg doing shopping, as if he had been given a second chance at life. The South African Prisoners Organisation for Human Rights is now calling for Correctional Services and Justice Minister Ronald Lamola and all involved parties to be removed from their positions for failing to do their jobs. The organisation's spokesperson, Miles Bhudu, joins me now in studio to discuss their concerns and this horror movie. Thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it. It's laughable because you just cannot believe how somebody can escape prison. He's been convicted of murder and rape. He's been out for almost a year, and only now are people scrambling to find him. I'm sure you are horrified at this.
Well, we're in big trouble in this country, and it comes as a result of people who has got a lot of power in too few little hands, and this power went up to their heads, and it is causing a terrible mess here. This is one of the 2 private prisons in the country that is supposed to be run amongst the best prisons, not only in South Africa, but on the continent and on SADC, where taxpayers are paying billions annually to make sure that this prison, after 25 years, these 2 prisons are handed over to the Department of Correctional Services and must be used as a sample how Correctional Services must run its future prisons. It is sad to hear that a prison where the Department of Correctional Services use taxpayers' monies to make sure that there isn't any overcrowding or undercrowding. There are CCTV cameras all over the place. There is no way that the guy that managed the main gate and the section didn't know what is happening, let alone the director and other correctional officers. There's no way that they didn't know what happened. It's a failed, botched inside job, and those responsible, including the minister, must get his head rolling.
Let's speak about, I mean, you speak about the fact that the guy at the main gate, so it's pretty obvious that wardens were fully aware of what was going on. Not everybody, but a number of them were probably aware of what was happening. I think the big question here is who was the man inside that cell that they claimed to have been Thabo Bester initially, because his body was decomposing. He had that body get inside that prison cell, and that makes you question how many wardens and correctional service officials knew about this and were in on this, and how much were they paid to allow this to happen?
Well, we decided to start a fearless campaign against the Department of Correctional Services to get the gadget legalized. They call it a contraband cell phone. And the Department of Correctional Services saw that campaign is cut short, and the information that we used to receive was just got lost in the system, because all those prisoners who kept us informed of what is really happening there were forcefully, violently removed from that prison and sent to prisons all over the country. I've just spoke with one of them this afternoon, and he's sending me information again about what really happened and where he is, and I must not reveal at which prison he is, but he's prepared to open the floodgates on one condition, that he was going to be taken care of, and those who know more of really what happened in terms of Chapter 7 of the Correctional Services Act 111 of 1998, Section 80, when it comes to highly meritorious services for a person who blew the whistle. Investigations are done and people get to the bottom of the matter without any further ado. That is in fact what we are now busy doing.
It's worrying, because now Correctional Services has come out to say that indeed Thabo Bester escaped last year, May the 2nd. And the police have indicated that there's now a manhunt out for Thabo Bester. But I think we should not also forget that Thabo Bester did not do this alone. He did not escape alone. And there are concerns that a particular doctor, and I'm not going to mention her name because she hasn't been mentioned by the police yet, but that she has been seen with Thabo Bester. So, you know, should there be a manhunt for other individuals as well, including this supposed doctor that he has been seen with shopping?
Well, I'm told that this doctor is harboring him, staying with him, and there might be a relationship between the two. And of course, it is a very serious crime to aid and abet and in fact also hide a person who is a fugitive. And of course, if she is a doctor, I don't know doctor in what thesis, but I won't be surprised if she's not also a witch doctor, because it's only witch doctors that does things like this, harbor somebody that has been arrested, charged and prosecuted for such serious crimes, and there is a tail that is following this person. And we are also told that she might have also been the person that has paid a lot of money to start this terrible horror movie.
It's all just so confusing, and I'm sure the week ahead is going to be a rather interesting one, because Thabo Bester, wherever he is obviously seeing all of this unfold, and it's taken government a year to react to all of this. I think what's also alarming is, Miles, is the fact that we've seen the minister not necessarily reacting. We just saw Correctional Services come out yesterday with that lengthy statement. But it's alleged that the deputy minister had received emails last year indicating that Thabo Bester had escaped. And when we engaged with the Department of Justice and the minister's spokesperson, we were told that the emails were never found, they have been lost, and they're still looking for them. So it's not like this is new information, and it's not like Ground Up just came out with these photos this year and said, well, here's the information. It seems as though the department had been getting information throughout last year and now this year, and it's almost as though it was ignored, and South Africans must just sit back and watch this happening while the Department of Correctional Services knew, and possibly the police.
Well, my advice from an organizational point of view to this particular doctor, I think it's about time now that she comes forward, that she opened the floodgates, that she tells everybody what is that she knows, so that one day when justice prevails, maybe in mitigating circumstances, the court might consider her coming forward, telling all of us what happened, and maybe be lenient. That's our advice, number one.
Is she considered an accomplice?
Of course, yes. I mean, people won't just talk about a doctor, talk about a horror movie of this nature that has been almost hidden away from the public, and they don't know what they're talking about. And if my memory serves me well, I was very active on WhatsApp, and it is the deputy minister, particularly Olomisa, that always used to read our emails, read our WhatsApps, and even watch the pictures that we're sending him. And we had a communication. And if my memory serves me well, there is something that I've sent him from an organizational point of view last year already. But it all disappeared because a campaign was embarked on to make sure that each and every cell phone, which they call the contraband, is removed from the Department of Correctional Services. And we are saying the Department of Correctional Services is as guilty as whoever is involved in this horror movie. And this is a private prison, by the way. This is a prison, as I said earlier on, is supposed to be a model for future activities, how our correctional facilities must be run. And millions of rands are invested in this thing that has become a cash cow for clever fat cat blacks.
So you speak about this prison, and you say that this prison is a model prison as to how other prisons should be like. This is a private prison facility. Somebody escaped from there. Thabo Bester escaped. Another body was planted in that cell. From your understanding of how these prisons work, I'm trying to understand how such an escape could have worked. Could you maybe take us through that? Does that mean just the man at the gate, at the one gate, and the man at the other gate knew about it? Or how many individuals would have to know about this kind of and be parts of this escape? Because we're not only talking about Thabo Bester escaping, we're also talking about another body that was planted in that cell and a supposed fire. Was there actually a fire?
Well, of course there was a fire. Our context told us. But we couldn't get to the bottom of this thing because of the interference of the Department of Correctional Services. But what I want to say is, you know, this matter is so serious. We call, in fact, for the Secret Intelligence Services, the SIS of Britain, to come and investigate this scandal so that they could also get the United Kingdom Britain penal system also exonerated, or maybe clarity is given to what really happened here, because that prison is run along the lines of the United Kingdom, and it is the United Kingdom model that they sent here to give us an impression that it is one of the best models that, if we want to go that route, could use it in our correctional facilities throughout the country. So we are not calling for an investigation that is local, because we might never get to the truth. And I wonder, where is the management of this G4 private prison, whilst the Department of Correctional Services has become the spokesperson? They are talking on behalf of what's happening there. They should have let the private prison and its apparatus and its spokesperson and its directors tell us really what's happening there, because what they tell us as the Department of Correctional Services is second thoughts.
I want to again ask you how such an escape could work, because you're saying it's a maximum prison, you know, high security, it's a model, it's done by the way things are done in the UK, and I'm sitting and going, how do you even escape a prison? Like, how does that even happen?
And do we know who that person is who was planted there and the cell was set alight? Do their relatives know of this person? And would they ever know who this person is, or would we ever know who that person is?
But also, sorry to interject here, the person that was, and I'm going to use the word planted tragically, but the person that was planted in that cell didn't have smoke inhalation. Yes. It took a year, almost a year. We in end of March, it's going to be April next week, almost a year for the post-mortem report to be released, which shows the body was decomposing and there was no smoke inhalation. That's what I'm saying to you. Was there even a fire, or was the body planted after the fire broke out?
A thorough investigation would get to it, but it must not be an investigation that is internally Department of Correctional Services and the private prison and in the country. It must go far above the borders. And what saddens me, you know, we've got a political party called the Patriotic Alliance, led by Gayton McKenzie and Kenny Kunene. They should have by now politically said something, because they are from that homeland, a former Afrikaner-born state, and they've been in prison in that part of the world. They should have said something and should have also joined and jumped into this fray. And maybe this thing was going to get there sooner rather than later. But my qualm from an organizational point of view, you get these individuals who are opportunistic, go in there via the back door, come and create a lot of expectations and go. Here are an opportunity to say, look, we are going to politically make sure that we get all to the bottom of this matter, because that is what we need. We need political intervention here, so that the ANC must not get away with murder as a government and as the Department of Correctional Services that is aligned to the government, and also this private prison that has made black people stinking rich at the expense of doing absolutely nothing.
I've run out of time. I have to ask you one last question, Miles. What do you think should happen going forward? Do you expect the minister to come out and say, I take full responsibility? Who should take responsibility?
Well, the minister and all the people that surrounds them must be fired. When last were ministers and deputy ministers fired? But it might never happen in our lifetime, because we have given in and we are in denialism that the country is not only a mafia state, it is a criminal state, and we are overseeing and superseding a criminal state as a nation. It is really sad. I don't know where we're going to from here.
No, it's absolutely shocking. This story has really shocked the nation. But thank you so much for coming in, and we thank you for your insights. That was Miles Bhudu from the South African Prisoners Organization for Human Rights. The story still is so mind-boggling.